Dave Portnoy dropped 200 grand on the Philadelphia Phillies to win the World Series. And I don't think he's wrong. If anything, he should have probably dropped 200 million. Phillies with a big win last night. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk more Sixers rumors, Eagles, Howard Eskin being the king again. We've got lots to talk about today. Eagles, who knows? We got a special guest today as well. Trending in the AM. We're live with your thoughts and opinions in 60 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome all to Trending in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We are live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill. Wherever you are watching, hit that like button, that share button like I'm doing right now, that subscribe button, that follow button. Wherever you are, smash those buttons. It is free to do it. It is free to support the show. It does not cost you a thing to do it. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. Guys, I'm your host every single morning here on Trending in the AM, Phil Stiefel. And we got a special guest today. I get a text message last night, I don't know, about like 5, 6 o'clock last night from a special someone. And they're like, yo, I'm off the next couple of days. Can I come on Trending in the AM with you? And I'm like, I don't know. Then he Venmo'd me about $500. I'm like, all right, I got some bills to pay, so I might as well accept that money. Let him on. My good friend who hasn't been on in God knows how long, Mark Moschitelli. Good morning, Mark. How you doing today?
Great, Phil. Thank you for accepting my Venmo and getting me on the show today.
Dude, I'm a house owner now, man. I can't turn down money.
I would transfer that pretty quick before it bounces.
How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great, dude. Thank you for having me on the show today. Congrats on the new house. The background looks great. Love the Fanatic pillow pet that you got behind you. Great setup. I will tell you, with the intro, your little headshot there, I think you need a new headshot. You got to clean that beard up a little bit, get the hair cut a little bit. You know, you're big time now, so you got to look like that. You know what I'm saying?
I'm big time now. I don't know about big time. I did trim the beard down about like 2-3 months ago, but it's already pretty much grown all the way back in already because, you know, I don't have problems growing hair like some people.
Okay. All right. I got you.
You know how this show is going to go.
Awesome.
I'm just trying to warm you up because you got these guys. Moscow, his envelope is he knows the rules, Moschitelli. His envelope is never light, K1, just so you know. Little does Phil know the Venmo was a request. Oh, it was a request. Damn it. So I'm the one actually losing money from my account here. Okay, gotcha. We got lots to talk about today. Hold on here. Thank you, Mark. Been trying to get a new hat.
See, right? Big Al knows. He's the boss man, right?
Yeah, you should go clean bald like Chachi. No. I'm not. I used to go, Michael. Chachi's my brother. I used to shave my head. It takes a lot of work to shave the head like that every single day. It's an effort, my man. Mark, we got lots to talk about today. Lots on the agenda today. Phillies with a really good win last night. And I know a win in early July against the Cubs, who are not a very good team. It could be a meaningless game to some people. But I think with where the Phillies are, it's an important game. And we're going to talk about that. I want to bring in a conversation later in the show, Eagles related, that I started late yesterday on the show. I put it out there on Twitter in a poll, and I want to get into that, something that concerns me that I think Eagles fans are ignoring this year. Obviously, Sixers rumors. I know you're a big Flyers fan. So I'll get you some of your thoughts on the Flyers offseason so far. And of course, we are going to talk a little Howard Eskin later in the show. But I want to start with the Phillies, Mark, because I know you're a huge Phillies fan. Big win last night, and for multiple reasons. Because, yes, we're still without our big stars, and Trey Turner had a huge game. But Michael Mercado, is it Mercado or Marcado? Mercado, right?
Mercado.
I think it was such a huge deal for him to go out there and pitch 5 really solid innings for this team. I know he's a young kid. I know his stuff wasn't insanely electric, but he pitched 5 really solid innings in a position in the rotation where we're struggling with Taijuan Walker. Turnbull's now hurt. No idea what to do with that 5th, spot in the rotation. Young kid comes up here and he just grabs the reins and goes out and pitches against a pretty solid Cubs offense. I think it's a big win.
It's a blessing in disguise, Phil, because listen, you got Turnbull down, which they were hoping on to take Walker's place. You got Walker, who's not effective, who's on the IL for his blister. If Mercado doesn't work out, they're going to have to make a deal for a 5th starter, which I don't think was in their plans at the beginning of the season. And for him to pitch as well as he did last night, and he pitched very well, it's a little bit of a sigh of relief, I think, by Dave Dombrowski, but it's only one game. So we got to see what it looks like going forward as they get deeper into the season, closer to the trade deadline. If he's effective, then just keep him there. Yeah, I read somewhere where he was the 30th best prospect in the system. I guess that's okay. I guess, I mean, to be at least ranked. But I mean, he pitched well. He pitched well, and he'll probably pitch well early on. Once the league gets a little bit of a book on him, that remains to be seen on what happens.
Yeah, market. Well, I forgot. You know what, Mitchie Poo? Yeah, I'm gonna write down Nova. I'm gonna write that down as a note. We'll touch on Mark's Nova Nation at the end. Good pull there, Mitchie Poo. You're allowed on the show tomorrow if you want, Mitchie Poo, for that comment there. It's interesting because it was a good start for him against a team like the Cubs. If he keeps his spot in the rotation, I'm assuming he'll slot again into the Dodgers series. I'm trying to do the math in my head, or the end of a Braves game, or the end of the Braves series. I forget which one it'll be. Much different opponent than what he, faced last night. But go out there, get some confidence in that against that Cubs team. I was watching him pitch. I was trying to pay close attention because I always love rookies' first starts because you really get a real glimpse of what they are. And his stuff wasn't like 98 miles an hour or anything like that, but his stuff did move and bounce around the plate a lot. I think the kid's got some potential there. And you say he's like the 30th best prospect, but he was having a really great season. I think he had a sub-2 ERA down in the minors this year. The kid is capable of throwing strikes and getting people out.
Yeah. Here's the only thing. I mean, if you watch the game, like, he did throw some meatballs down the middle of the plate.
Yeah.
They got hit really, really hard.
There was that double by Cody Bellinger.
Yeah.
I think it was like in the 4th inning that drove in a run. I'm like, oh my God, that ball was just, I think I could barely hit a baseball, but I think I could have hit that pitch. It was just dead center down the plate.
For the life of me, like, I couldn't understand why all those balls weren't going out. I mean, they did hit 2 home runs, but like, there should have been like 5. So it's he can't keep grooving pitches like that because he is going to get smacked around with some of the better teams that are out there. And the ball didn't bounce the Cubs' way last night. We'll see what happens tonight in the game tonight. And who's pitching tonight? Is it
tonight's Wheeler versus? I had it up, but I went to the box score instead. We'll get into it in a second. I'll pull it up. Tonight's pitcher for the Cubs is having a fantastic season. I love this stuff. I think we do get spoiled with our starting pitching this year. Honestly, Taijuan Walker, even at times, for a 5th starter, was not awful at times. We don't want a Cy Young contender in our 5th spot, or we don't need that. So if Mercado can go out there and give you 5 or 6 innings and give up 3 runs a game, that's a win in your that's better than most 4s on most teams. So, I think we overvalue sometimes what we expect out of the fifth starter role on a baseball team.
Yeah, and listen, this team has postseason aspirations.
No, they do not. They do not have You got to change
I
that.
mean, well, they have World Series winning
aspirations. You
Okay,
got to phrase that
so
right.
and they're all short series. So your number 5 is not going to pitch, and they're going to be needed if something goes wrong and need some long relief, or mop up duty if they're up really big or really or if they're losing really bad. Big Ed is in the house. Thanks,
I
buddy.
love it when I see
Um,
Big Ed's name in the
yeah,
comments. I'm a happy man.
yeah. So like you don't need a fifth starter per se in the postseason. That being said, have somebody ready to go to be that long relief. And to your point, Walker, I think what Rob Thompson needs to do is just figure out when to pull the trigger on this guy,
Mhm,
and get him out before he has that bad inning.
mhm,
And I don't think he was real successful with that. And then just Walker doesn't have the velocity on his fastball. And if you don't have the velocity on your fastball, you better have placement with your pitches. And
mhm.
I think he was kind of getting there. Some games he was better than others, but um, long term, I don't see him on the squad. I know they're talking about like he's not going to be here past the trade deadline. I doubt it. I don't know who's going to take that contract unless somebody out there is desperate.
Mhm,
And here's the thing: is there are so many teams that are in place to be in the postseason. There's not going to be a lot of sellers that are out there, and
mhm,
and it's going to be a real wacky trade deadline. Don't think that you're going to be able to get what you're looking for, because the guys that you are looking for are probably on teams that are in the hunt, and the guys that you're settling with might not be the best option. Luis Roberts Jr. is probably that guy if you saw his play last night.
I already tweeted out right before this show, and everybody wants Lewis Roberts. But then last night, you see him if you guys missed it, Lewis Roberts last night, you play center field, and there's a man on third, 1 out in the ninth inning, or no outs in the ninth inning. Sac fly wins the game. He doesn't even try to throw the ball home, which it's a very low percentage play to throw a guy out there. But that guy isn't going to survive in Philly. If you go trade for him,
No,
you got to find somebody that has a little bit more fight and desire. Yeah, Philly guys, no Philly fan wants a guy that doesn't give 100% effort.
no. I mean that guy would get raked over here.
I don't
I
know.
I I,
Can you
I,
imagine
bel
the polls on WIP if that guy comes and plays here and he
I
doesn't throw hard to home to close out a fourth inning? Come on now.
I can only imagine. I think what's really important, um, when you're talking about roster construction here, and I think Dombrowski does a nice job with it,
Mhm,
is I don't think you have to get at the deadline the splashiest guy. I think you got to get that guy that is going to fit the role really that you need.
mhm,
And I think that's what made previous Phillies teams successful. What guys did they get to get them over the hump to 2008, and that run from '07 to 11? Moyer,
mhm,
Victorino, Worth, like all these guys were cast offs or Rule Fives, and just guys that the scouting department and the front office had a book on that knew that with the people that they have here, they could tweak them and make them what they need to be. And with the coaching staff that we have, the front office that we have, I don't think you have to get a Kyle Tucker, although it would be nice. I don't think you have to get a Roberts from the White Sox. I think you have to get an under the radar guy that is going to fill the hole that you need him to fill.
if you like pitching duels tonight, Wheeler versus I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Imanaga, something like that. Pitcher for the Cubs tonight. It is going to be a pitcher's duel tonight. Wheeler, obviously, Cy Young favorite this year. This kid for the Cubs, he's given up 29 runs in 15 starts this year, but 17 of those runs came in 2 starts. 2 starts ago, before he had his second to last start, he had a 1.89 ERA. Then he gave up 10 runs in 3 innings, and that ballooned his ERA to just north of
Jesus.
3. So this kid, he's got 15 starts this year. He's given up 10-1, 7-1, 3-1, and then 9 runs combined in his other 12 starts. So this kid can pitch. He just had one or two little bumps in the road this season. This offense, which I see people comment, Joe talking about Garrett Stubbs, who's actually filled in for JT Realmuto pretty solidly. You got Garrett Stubbs. This offense is missing a lot of pieces still. Trey Turner was the big guy last night, which if Trey Turner can get hot and stay hot once these other guys come back, that's unstoppable, this offense. Somebody's always stepping up in this little stretch here. We're treading water. It's not going to be an offense explosion tonight, knowing that you've got Amanga on the mound for those Cubs. But it's nice to see guys stepping up. Stubbs at times. Stotts had a couple good games in the leadoff spot. Different guys are stepping up every single night. And, I do want to see a Lewis Roberts type, another outfielder. But in theory, if Harper comes back healthy and plays well and continues at an MVP pace, Schwarber does. If no other injuries happen, does this team really need to break the bank to bring someone in here and still stay World Series contenders? I don't even know if it's necessary.
I'm big on the fact that you can't have $100 million players in every position. You
Absolutely.
just can't. And Barbara, I do believe the Braves are in a lot of trouble. They have some major injuries as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're obviously way behind the Phillies right now. Are they 10 games back? Or is it still
they're
9?
9 games back after they lost last night. We won, so they're 9 games back to us. They're only 4 in front of the Mets. Maybe that series against the Braves coming up is what puts. If we can go out there and beat the Braves,
put the nail in the coffin on these guys.
Put the nail in the coffin right from the get-go.
I mean, I don't want to talk like that. And we just started July, but it's just a hard hole to dig out of. But listen, also remember, going back, 7 out, 17 to play. The Phillies had an 0-7, and they ended up overtaking the Mets. So anything is possible. There's no way that they're trading Castellanos. No.
I don't even think it matters that he's hot right now. I still don't think, even though he's playing well, I don't think there's much trade value in Nick Castellanos because he's still on the books for a pretty big penny next year. You know what I mean? Sure. So I don't think Castellanos goes anywhere. Maybe in the offseason. I think Nick Castellanos to me is sort of, to an extent, like the Tobias Harris of the Phillies. He's a little overpaid. He put up a lot of big numbers on bad teams. He came here, got the big payday. He's had great moments, but he just doesn't sustain it. He surprisingly plays good defense, just like Tobias Harris doesn't get credit for it. I think Nick Castellanos is fine. You just kind of got to ride it out with him. That's all you could do with him.
He had a pretty good night last night. He had a hit. Yeah. He had 2 good plays in the outfield. Got poison ivy in his eye. And Joe, just to keep in mind, Castellanos, Dave Dombrowski guy. He drafted him in Detroit. Mm-hmm. He signed him as a free agent here. He's not going anywhere. He's certainly not going anywhere at the trade deadline. If they win the World Series, I would not be surprised if Dave traded him to the Marlins so he can be home with his family. If you follow him at all on social media or anything like that, family is number 1 to this guy. And it shows when his son Liam is up from Florida staying with him, his stats go through the roof. And listen, dude, I respect that. He's on the team. He's not going anywhere.
Yep, absolutely. Barbara saying just put Harper in right field, Marsh in center, and Castian left. Now I've debated some of these things, and I wanted to bring this up because I don't want to talk about future years too much, but I did get into it on Twitter with a few people, not into it in a bad way, just like into a discussion, because you got Aiden Miller, young, fast rising prospect, made the futures game in the minors, but he's an infielder. And you've already got Stott and Turner locked in. You got Bohm here, hopefully for a long time. Harper playing first. There isn't really a position for this young kid in Aiden Miller. And people keep telling me just put Harper back in the outfield. Then you could slide out Bohm over to first, and then you got a spot for Miller in the infield. And I just don't know if I like the idea of putting Harper back in the outfield. He seems to be settling in at first. That surgically repaired shoulder could always give. Once you have one Tommy John, there's odds you're going to get it again. I don't know if I want to put that risk there. I don't mind moving Casty to left field if you get a right fielder. I don't mind moving Marsh to around. But I don't know if Harper to right field is the right answer for anything this year or going forward, in my opinion, Mark. I don't know what you think about that.
He's playing at Gold Glove level first
Exactly.
base, and listen, your first baseman has them. Really, he's going to be seeing the ball the most. I mean, how many
Mm-hmm.
throws are the first base? Like, I don't think you can cycle guys in and out at first base.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. They're going to preserve him at first base, and he'll do less running. Um, like they want him for the full contract and then some. And there was going to be a time where he was probably going to move to full DH. This is a better option, at least right now. At this stage of his career, I don't think you'll ever see him back in the outfield unless, to your point, Phil, which is a good point, Aiden Miller, who's just absolutely crushing it down in the
Absolutely.
minors, and he's in the futures game. He plays third base.
Mm-hmm.
Do you move him to the outfield, Harper, and then you put Miller at third, you put Bohm at first, because you're going to have to make a decision with Bohm on what you want to do with him. I mean, we still have control over him, but like, are you going to give him a long-term contract?
Well,
I don't
there's
know.
another aspect to it that we're not thinking about, and we talked about this was about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago when he got injured. Is what do you do with JT Realmuto? Because once the injury he had, it's something that is going to cause pain down. He's not going to be able to play out the rest of his contract probably as a starting catcher. So what does that do? That turns JT Realmuto potentially that you need to swing to first base, to swing the DH occasionally. You're gonna get to a point where you've got a lot of first basemen / DHs on this team. So someone's going to have to go. You got a lot of people under long-term contracts and young guys. Somebody is going to have to move to the outfield. I just don't know if I would take that risk on Bryce Harper's shoulder and arm by making it him. Whether it's Miller. I know people crush the idea of Trey Turner. He did start out there. Maybe you consider that. I don't know if that's the right answer either, but somebody is going. I would say using Miller since he's so young and maybe giving him from now in the minors the opportunity to learn the position. That might be the smarter way to go about it.
You mean in outfield? Put him in the
Yeah,
outfield?
put him in the outfield, Miller. Just because he's young and he's in the minors, you don't need him right now. Instead of figuring it out later, just go with it. Get him some of that work now.
If you really love the guys that you have on this team, but Miller's coming, I think that could be an option. Definitely put him in the outfield. There's only so many people you can have to play first base, and there's another comment, JT. This is the one I do agree with. He is almost done here.
He needs to sign a pretty long-term deal, though. He's got to.
I don't think he's going to be. I like JT. Don't get me wrong, and it's pretty clear that Rob Thompson loves the guy, but his value is behind the plate. And if he's not behind the plate and he's at first, he's going to be a below-average first baseman. And let's be real. Like, I mean, while he has spurts of hitting well, he's gradually has declined, as most catchers do. My opinion is just have him spent at catcher, and when he can't play anymore, if you want to sign him to a DH role or part-time player, he's playing first base DH. If you have room for him, maybe you do that. I don't know, but I don't think he's long beyond his contract here.
K1 wants to know the Tobias Harris of the Flyers. I don't even know if there is a Tobias.
Travis Konechny is probably
is that
the thing to it. Yeah.
Listen,
K1, I can't. My Flyers knowledge has really disappeared in the past decade because they've been just god awful. But everything that I see and read, Konechny is overpaid and doesn't really
transition to the Flyers for a hot second here. Since you haven't been on the show in a while, I keep talking about you're an older gentleman just like me. I'm getting the vibes Flyer wise like I did when I was a young Phil, beardless Phil, and I'm listening to, we're going to talk about this as well, WIP with my dad in the car, and there's a breaking news report that the Flyers traded for Eric Lindros, traded Peter Forsberg's rights, it's XYZ also, and they're getting Eric Lindros. And I was like, holy crap, that's exciting. And like I had butterflies in my stomach. This Matvei Michkov that he agreed to come over now is giving me those same 91, 92, early Flyers butterflies that really turned me from being a fan into a huge fan. Even though K1 thinks I don't like the Flyers because I choose not to talk them much, they just don't help the algorithm. I'm getting those excitements again.
I don't know. I think it's not fair to compare him to Lindros. Lindros was different and special. I don't know much about this other than he's supposedly the best Russian player that's out there.
He would have been the number 1 overall pick if it wasn't for the fear that the Russian Federation wasn't going to let him come over here and play. So he fell to us at 7 or 8 because teams were. It was a huge risk drafting him because he had a 3-year deal still to play. Plus Russia, I don't want to get political. Russia sometimes, refuses to allow their athletes to come over here and play. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there. So there was a huge risk there, but everyone said hands down he was the best player of the last couple years in the draft. But there was just a risk to take him. So I think this kid has the potential to be a superstar. He is just a kid, though, so we've got to wait and see. Joe, do you believe in Joe Hendry? Do you believe in Joe Hendry?
Is he?
Mark doesn't know who Joe Hendry is.
He's a wrestler? Is he a wrestler?
Oh, look, see, Joe Hendry has become so viral. Even Mark Muscatelli knows who Joe Hendry is.
I can't say that I'm deep in the WWE and AEW and all that. Sure, I believe.
You know who Joe Hendry is? That's what I love.
I've heard the name. I mean, you're a wrestling guy, no, Phil? Don't you watch wrestling?
Very rarely. There has to be absolutely nothing on TV. It's just the building of the team from basically scratch. Yes, that's what the Flyers. LeBron got paid. Breaking news on the show. LeBron staying in LA 2 years, $104 million. I actually think that's a really good deal. And if we didn't get Paul George, I would have matched this. Like, honestly, I thought he was going to get a 3-year deal, like 150, 160 million guys, because I just thought that with his son being there, which is another whole subject, and being a dad, I love to get your thoughts on this, Mark. But LeBron, 2 years, he is still one of the 5 best players in the NBA, even at his advanced age. So I think this is a great deal. I think it's a fair deal. I don't think, knowing that Paul George is getting, $54 million a year, LeBron is still better than Paul George, even at this time. So I think that's a great deal. And I wish that would have been in Philly.
LeBron is the worst thing that has happened to NBA basketball since I don't know when. He is listen, dude. On the court, he's probably top 2 or 3 player of all time. I get it. I think he's ruined basketball. I really do. You could look at it. Well, the players are now taking control and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe old guys like me, I'd like to see some continuity and some understanding of like teams like growing organically and not going to super teams. I just think he's been like the worst thing ever. He runs the Lakers. It's not Jeannie Buss. Yeah. It's not their GM. It's not JJ Redick. He runs the Lakers. The player runs the Lakers. I'm going to tell you, most of those players probably roll their eyes at him. That team will never do anything while he's a member of that team. The Lakers are a non-factor. From him playing with his son, I think that's pretty cool. I'm surprised that's never happened in the NBA. I mean, obviously, it's happened in baseball with the Griffey Sr. and Griffey Jr.
Barb is becoming a Mark fan very quickly here.
Yeah, he's just bad for basketball, bad for professional sports. Look at the league and these contracts. They're just like they're out of control. And then when these players don't perform, you're not going to be able to get out of those contracts, and your team is going to be stuck. I mean, the Sixers are in okay because they don't have anybody on their roster. But like, if you want to sign like a James Harden or like a LeBron or somebody like that, and they don't perform, see Tobias Harris's contract, like you're stuck. You're absolutely stuck.
I want to address one thing though, because I thought of a different way to think about this Bronny and LeBron, because I think LeBron James is doing a disservice to Bronny by kind of pushing him to. He's not ready to be an NBA player. Will he someday? I don't know. That's up to Bronny to put the work in. But he is getting a lot of extra, push because of his dad and the fact that his dad wants to play with him. But people are saying that he only got the job because of his dad, which is fine, which is true. But I want to ask you this, and I want to phrase this is something I thought of a day or so ago, and I haven't brought it up on the show yet. Mark, your dad, Big Ed, if you're still in the chat, Big Ed worked hard to give you opportunities and a better life than he had. You, Mark, are working hard to give your kids better life and better opportunities than you had. LeBron's doing the same thing. LeBron worked his ass off to give his son, opportunities to help his son succeed. Is there anything to this thread that I'm pulling on here? Because I see a smirk on your face there. I don't hate LeBron for working hard and helping his son have his career started because of the work he put in.
So Bronny on USC couldn't find the court and
we also had a heart problem.
Okay. All right, that's fair.
Yeah, there was a lot of the season wasted because he was out with I don't know if it was a straight heart attack, but there was a heart condition and he didn't play a majority. Then he came in late in the season and just couldn't get back in the rotation. He's bad, but the heart played a part in him not being successful his first year in college.
I don't want to say Bronny is bad. He's just not. He's super raw.
Absolutely.
He probably could be a good NBA player. However, I think he should have been in the G League. I think he should have been in college for at least another year. I think this goes back to why LeBron is just not a good dude. I really believe that is because LeBron wants to be the first to play with his son in the NBA and really accelerated Bronny's development. It's more about LeBron than it is for Bronny to play NBA basketball, because I think that dream probably would occur anyway, just not with LeBron James. And I think he might be thinking that he's doing his son, he's helping his son, but really, I think in the long term, he might be hindering him. I don't think the way it's shaking out right now, I think within 3 years, both LeBron and Bronny James will not be in the NBA.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. I just keep thinking about this. Dads always are trying to help their sons. You know what I mean? Or their kids in general. And I
they
just
do.
Think that, I can't fault LeBron for making a push to make sure his kid gets it. LeBron's got all this power, whether it's good or bad power. LeBron's using his thing to help it. Otherwise, his son wouldn't be in the league.
Yeah, but what about
he's using his power to advance his son's career.
Hey, you look out for your kids, right?
Exactly. It's looking out for your kids.
But LeBron and Bronny now work at the same place and they have the same coworkers. What are the other coworkers think of the situation?
True.
And does it sour the workplace? And this is me talking to having 30 years in corporate America working at jobs, and you see people that come in that you may roll your eyes that this is so and so's kid. Sometimes they end up being better than their parent. Most often they're what they're advertised. Sometimes it's like, oh my God. So it's really tough to work sometimes in situations like that. As long as Bronny holds up his end of the bargain and does work hard and does try to create a name for himself without his father, if he's constantly leaning on dad for stuff, like that could be a problem. But if he's like, Dad, thank you for getting me here, I got it from here, I don't have a problem with that.
Like it's no different than, nobody ever criticized. I know Giannis Antetokounmpo is on a different level than LeBron. LeBron's one of the greatest of all time. Giannis is one of the greatest of this generation. But his brother, Thanasis, I think he has another brother too that was in the NBA. These guys only have jobs because of their brother, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Thanasis is like out there asking for a trade from the Bucks because he wants more opportunity. Giannis got him into the league. Now Thanasis wants to make his own name, and he wants out of Milwaukee so he can get away from his brother's shadow. So using your power to get them in, now it's like you said, up to them to, to keep it, to earn it, to and whatnot. And back to Big Al's thing. I think being a surgeon's a little different than being an NBA player. If my dad was a hotshot surgeon, maybe he could have gotten me into the medical school that I might not have qualified for. But I think that's a little different of a. I think that's an extreme example of what I'm talking about here. I just wanted to address that one right there. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. Yeah. My biggest issue with him getting drafted is LeBron took a much more worthy college player, and I get that, and I do. I've heard this argument online a lot that it's taking away a spot from somebody that deserved it.
I disagree there. I mean, most of the people that were drafted were from France or from the G League, or honestly, like college players who haven't who ran out of eligibility and the NIL money. I don't think that is as big of an issue as you think.
And this is where I have a problem with it, because he is setting his son up for it's put your son Mark. He wants to do something. He's not qualified for it, but you push him too hard, too fast, then he fails. Then it just crushes his confidence in life, not just in that job for a long time. I mean, whatever. But I do get also. I mean, it was awesome when I was a kid seeing Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. on the field together. It was awesome. I think Barry Bonds and his dad didn't play on the same team, but I think they played in the same game against each other once. So we've seen it in baseball a few times. I think that's kind of cool and all, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were getting on the LeBron conversation today.
Sophia Coppola is not a bad director, and she was in The Godfather as the infant being baptized.
Let's pause for a second here, because we're going to get back to The Godfather in a second for you, K1. Just for you, K1. But we're brought to you here by SherryTickets.com. Great moments don't just happen. They happen with you in the crowd. SherryTickets.com has no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Don't buy a $50 ticket, then get the checkout and see $500 as your bill. No, the price you see is the price you pay. And if you use promo code EOP10, it gets you 10% off, not just sporting tickets, theater tickets, concert tickets. They've got it all. If you need a personal touch, give them a call, 610-494-5050, or like I said, go to SherryTickets.com. Promo code EOP10. Let them know Edge of Philly, Trending the AM sent you. And, of course, our good friends at PhillySportsTrips.com. If you want to travel with your favorite team, they are the premier travel and tailgating experience company in the area, and they put together great packages for the fans of the Philadelphia sports teams. Obviously, great trip to Brazil, week 1 of the NFL season, to see the Eagles take on the Green Bay Packers. They got Italian. Maybe Mark will be at Italian Heritage Celebration. They'll have a great tailgate for that in August. In a couple of weeks, a trip out to Pittsburgh, trip down to Miami to see the Union, and of course, all our Eagles takeovers on the road. Some flights, some bus trips. They've got them all, and they are taking deposits for spring training 2025 for our Phillies, who will be the defending World Series champions in spring training. So make sure you check them out. PhillySportsTrips.com. When you sign up on their website, just let them know Edge of Philly, Trending in the AM is where you heard about them. And we're right back to the comments here. Stop. That was not a 7 out of 10. You had to watch Fairway to Heaven last night when I butchered the ad read, and that was like a 6 out of 10 last night. Sophia ruined Godfather 3.
No, all right.
Let me recognize Godfather 3 as an actual movie, do we?
All right, listen. And it's hard to do this. Take away Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. Godfather 3, if it was a standalone, by itself movie, there was never 1 or 2. It's a fantastic movie. It's a fantastic movie.
I don't think I could. I can't look at it like you did. The way you described it, take it out. I can't watch it without taking that context out of the equation.
Most people can't, and he probably shouldn't have done it, because there was no way you were going to top Godfather 2. Godfather 3 is excellent movie. It's just you're comparing it to 2 of the greatest films ever made, and it's a 3, and it's not even close to being in the league of those other 2. But it's still a great movie.
If you had to watch one right now, are you watching Godfather or Goodfellas? That's the question. Every single guest that comes on this show, it's got to be asked.
You're comparing apples and bowling balls
Agree.
here. It's the same genre, but two completely different movies, and it
Absolutely.
depends what mood I'm in. I
Absolutely.
love Goodfellas.
Absolutely.
And The Godfather really glorifies the mob, and Goodfellas shows you what it's really about.
Mhm.
And I love both of them for those exact reasons for each.
Mhm. I will die on the hill that Godfather 2 is better than Godfather 1. So if the question was Godfather 2 and Goodfellas, I might swing more to Godfather 2, but
I,
I think it depends on you, like you said, what mood you're in. Because Godfather is such a rewatchable movie. It's just something you can put on and just watch 100 times.
my,
Godfather, when you sit down to watch The Godfather, you got to watch it and you got to take it in and you got to really think while you're watching it.
so
I think it just depends on what kind of vibe you're feeling that day.
the first like 15 minutes of Godfather 2, where they show him coming to America, trying to get out of Italy, like I get visibly sad and upset and start crying. Y- Picture your life. That's your life starts out. They send you on a ship to America where you know nobody because your whole family was decimated over a disagreement with the local mafia boss. Like,
I think I think you may have upset K1 with your
yeah,
Godfather 3 comment.
that
I'm a little
that's a
behind on comments.
it's an accurate take though.
Duck agrees with you. Duck. I'm surprised. And
Yeah,
Brett, I see your comment. We're going to touch on this in a few minutes
yeah.
here, for sure, because it's something I want to cover for sure. Take away episodes 4, 5, and 6 on a Phantom Menace. Yeah, I got you. I got
Phantom
you on
Menace
that.
was a trash movie. The one after that was a trash movie. Revenge of the Sith was very good, and all the Disney Star Wars absolutely are horrendously bad.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you. Obviously I've seen the original 3 when they did the episodes 1, 2, and 3. I think I saw all of them, but I haven't watched any of the new Godfather movies. Not or
Oh,
Star Wars
Star
movies.
Wars.
I haven't watched a single
It's
one of them.
it's
Not
all
one of them. None
terrible
of the
junk.
TV shows. I am not a Star Wars fan. I respect the cultural importance that those movies bring to the table, but I don't like them. I don't like them at all, whatsoever.
I'm,
Rocky 1
I'm
was great, but it's
Rocky One is a masterpiece. Are you
absolutely
kidding?
agree.
No, stop. Wait, go back to Brett. What are you talking about? It's not a movie you can watch every day. You need to look into how deep that movie is. It's not about boxing. The boxing is just on the surface what it's about. If you're looking at the movie as a boxing movie, that's not what the movie is. It is perfect cinema, and it highlights the city of Philadelphia in the '70s. If you're from Philly, Brett, I don't know if you are. That's why there's a lot of people here from Philly that will swear by this movie. We don't besmirch Rocky
I do.
on this show.
I'm kind of over Rocky. If I never saw a Rocky
My
movie
God,
ever
come
again,
on, man.
I would be okay. I'm just
All
so
right,
tired of. I think it's because it's played at every sporting event. Whenever I hear the song "I Have a Tiger," I just cringe. Like I'm tired of it. It's played out.
spe-
It's like people making practice comments. We're talking practice. Like it's just played out, and I think it's ruined the movies for me. So I'm over it.
uh, spend an afternoon with no distractions. Sit, watch, and analyze Rocky, and come back and see me. Is joy a
Um,
foreign concept? Dude, these comments are off the hook, dude.
this is a quiet day. This is a very quiet day in the comments, Mark, because you're being too reasonable with most of them. But your Godfather comments may have fired these guys up a little bit.
The
Just so
Godfather
you know.
epic is fantastic. It absolutely is.
And the part he said where
But
you do it in
it's for
chronological
it's
order.
the Godfather epic, like, honestly, is for for your senior citizens who can't stay on track on what's going on in Godfather 2. So yeah, let's put it all in order for them. That's
I,
my opinion there.
Rocky
Rocky,
5 is greater than
what's
Rocky 1.
stop it. That's trash.
Oh
That's
man.
All right, so
Mandalorian and
Mandalorian, or so we're talking Star Wars again. Mandalorian is pretty good, but it kind of fell off the cliff a little bit. Um, Andor I couldn't get into, and all the other stuff is the Acolyte. I watched the first 30 minutes, and it was trash.
Yeah. No,
Raging Bull
I
is a
just never really.
tremendous movie as well.
And I think I kind of appreciate the original ones a little bit better because technology wasn't as great. So what they did and accomplished, like, I don't know, it just feels like everything's so CGI. I just can't get into it. It's not my thing. Not at all. I'd rather rewatch Rocky and Godfather than watch any of the new Star Wars stuff. 42 worked at the vet. Yeah, absolutely. Made the mafia human. You're talking to two Italians. So I'm sure there's some connections in the Moschitelli and Stiefel household somewhere down the line. So, we are humans, us mafia people.
In Philly, the mafia all went downhill when they killed Angelo Bruno, and it's just been a shit show ever since. When Angelo Bruno was in charge, the mob was there. They ran the rackets that they ran. They worked behind the shadows. They didn't really bother anybody. Greed and drugs just overcame that whole organization and most of the mafia in the United States, and it's a shit show now.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, guys, I want to do the next ad read because I think it segue into something that Brett asked about a few minutes ago. There's this girl that works for Aramark, and she may need to call David R. Cherry of the Cherry Law Firm. If you need a workers' compensation lawyer, motor vehicle accident, personal injury, criminal law, you call the best, the guy that's going to fight for you and get you what you deserve. David R. Cherry of the Cherry Law Firm, cherryinjurylaw.com, 610-565-0300. Lady, if you need some help, this is the guy to do it. If you do call him, seriously, make sure you mention Edge of Philly trending in the AM. But again, David R. Cherry, 610-565-0300, or visit cherryinjurylaw.com. I mean, out of all the segues I've ever had for
that
a
was
topic
tremendous
and an ad
That's
read,
the 10 and 10 read.
I don't think anything is better than talking about a serious situation with our media and a person and having a lawyer ad read to have to do. I don't think it gets any better than that. It doesn't. And Mark, whenever I do the ad read, there's like 400 cherries in the comment section. I think David R. Cherry, Mark, has become more famous than me in the show, and none of these guys know who David R. Cherry is. They just love the David R. Cherry ad reads that I do, and I find a way to sneak it in as a segue all the time.
Hey, listen, something's going to happen to one of your listeners, and they're going to go back and say, I got to call the Cherry guy. Yep. So you're doing a phenomenal job. And that segue, it's a 10 of 10, brother.
Howard had himself a bad day. Howard Eskin, for those that don't know, so Brett already commented on it in the comments, the legend. And I do use that word legend with Howard Eskin because Howard Eskin is a guy, when I was growing up, he was there were a few sports figures. He was front and center. I mean, I couldn't wait to listen to him on the radio. I couldn't wait to see him on the Great Sports Debate. If you remember that, people, it was a great show back in the day. Howard Eskin was everything. Like, I wanted to be a sports reporter because of guys like Howard Eskin. But Howard Eskin is a scumbag, plain and simple. He is. And the news came out. He's been banned from Citizens Bank Park and covering the Phillies. He hasn't happened. This actually happened like a couple months ago. The story's just coming out last night, that he made unwanted advances at an Aramark employee. Maybe there's some rumors that he might have even tried to kiss this lady, and she didn't want it. So he's been kicked out of Citizens Bank Park. But yet, WIP is keeping him on the air. So there's lots of different areas I want to get at with this. Also, the Kevin Kincaid Crossing Broad article on this. But guys, if we all want the king gone. WIP's got the perfect excuse to get him off the air, but yet he's not. Mark, should this be the final nail in the king's coffin?
Yes. So here I feel a little, not about the situation, because I do believe he's a scumbag, but a little bit about Howard Eskin. He invented sports talk radio essentially in this town. He's Absolutely. The foundation. He is the prototype. The stories that I've heard behind the scenes, I've heard he's a very charitable guy. I hear he's a very nice guy if you were to approach him.
I heard the complete opposite.
I don't know. Maybe I'm talking to the wrong people.
I've worked with a couple, at least nowadays. I've worked here at Edge of Philly. I've worked with PSN before, both who had Phillies credentials, and I've heard through the grapevine how he treats the young up-and-comers, reporters in the media rooms is totally douchebaggy.
I'm not talking about reporters. I'm just talking about the general public. So maybe
No.
maybe that certain clientele, so to speak, because they are probably a threat to him, because he wants to remain on his mantle. I think the games and how the organizations are run have passed him by. Like, he has not changed with the times. If you ever see him on Twitter or trying to go live, like, the technology is not his strong point. And his takes are just god awful. And if you read into everything that he does and says, he carries the water for the Eagles. He has vendettas against the Sixers and the Phillies. And this is before this whole thing that has happened. And I think some folks are starting to push back now. If you want to read into it deeper, Jamie Apodi, part of the reason why she's no longer on 6ABC is because of the Phillies. Uh,
Mhm.
it, uh, the Phillies probably saw that and said, you know what, screw this. I'm going to our radio partner and saying enough is enough and
Mhm.
pushing back.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that they did it, because, like, the people, to your point, that cover these sports kind of roll their eyes. And he did have a reputation of going in, hobnobbing with people, being bombastic, and leaving by the second inning, or just showing up for the press conference, asking stupid questions, and just to be heard. And is he really doing the public service? Because when you're a journalist, you are the conduit between who you cover and the people that read your stuff. Is he doing them a service at all? I don't think so. I don't think he's done anything like that for quite some time, and there's a reason why he's doing a show for 2 hours on a Saturday morning when everybody's sleeping. But yes, this should be their out to say, you know what, let's change the station. I mean, Cataldi is no longer there.
Mhm.
They did bring back Spike Eskin. I think
His
that
son,
was
yeah.
I think they brought him back because they're having a lot of money problems, and they wanted to get him into a role that may uh, be less of a salary for him instead of fireman. I don't know what his contract looks like. Um, Eskin does no purpose for the station. They really should cut ties with him. I think we've all had enough, and it's time for a
And,
new
and
a new group of
WIP
people to
should
take
cut
over.
ties with him, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But I also think that the Eagles should cut ties. I think he should be, if
Oh,
he
I
if he's
agree
the
too.
if he's the flag bearer of the Eagles, he doesn't work for any of the stations for the Eagles. He works for the Eagles themselves. I think the Eagles should back their fellow, team across the street there and say, if the Phillies don't want him there anymore, we don't want him here on the sideline anymore. And I kind of feel like that should happen as well.
Our Mark has a contract with the link. I mean,
Absolutely.
if you're going to, you know, protect your employees at one location, why
Mhm.
would you allow that same individual to go to other locations?
Absolutely.
So I mean, you can look at it that way. I do think, be careful what you wish for, because if you get rid of him as your Eagles sideline reporter, you know who's taking his role, right? It's going to
Who?
be ESP. Is going to be the the
Oh,
next guy in line, and he is Howard Eskin light. He's a guy that if you were at a bar, you want to just grab him and smack him around and throw him out. Like both of those guys, just so annoying and so hot take for the sake of a hot
mhm.
take. That there are the people that are on your show, this Trending in the AM show, that just want facts and opinions based in facts, and not like a Stephen A. Smith
Mhm.
or a Howard Eskin or an ESP type of hot take. We don't do that here on Trending in the
No,
AM.
we do not. And for those that don't know, Mark was part of the original Trending in the AM from the beginning, when you actually had a little bit more of a social life and some mornings free during the COVID era, when you were home more often than you could. And of course, Matty B saying free. Stop, Matty B. No, I'm not going to support that at all. Look, I got into a little bit of I don't want to call it a beef, because me and Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad have a pretty good working relationship. He's been on this show before to talk union. We message occasionally. But they obviously put out an article about this, and he did a thing in the article, and he said he was going to use this as a barometer to see, if cancel culture is really still a thing. And he mentioned cancel culture, the Me Too movement, and stuff like that. And Kevin Kincaid and a lot of other people think I misread his article. Others have told me I got it right, but that getting a guy fired because he makes sexual advances at people, and not just once. This is something that's been going on for a long time. And obviously, somehow I missed the thing from '97 that Eskin did. I didn't even learn about that till last night. If you guys don't know what Eskin did in '97, you could Google search that. I don't think cancel culture is about protecting people for doing dirtbag things. And you do something dirty like that, you pay the price for it. If you, Mark, at your job, made an unwanted advance at one of your clients, would you get fired for that?
Within 15 minutes.
Exactly. That's not cancel culture. That's just being a good working person. That's just following the rules of the job, the rules of engagement at a job. That's all it is.
Let me just add one other thing with that, because I got into a beef with somebody on Twitter about this. Yes, in corporate America, if you were to do that, you should and probably will be fired. But I've seen instances where corporations keep people because they make the money, or they move them to another department, and I get sometimes maybe why they want to do that. Maybe they don't have all the facts. Well, maybe it's not as clear cut as it might look, but at the end, that type of individual will burn a company, and you should have a really cut the ties, and I think I think they're well warranted. And again, like, I don't know why they're keeping this guy around. He's got a minimal role on the station.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's tied in with the Eagles, but I mean, if you talk to Jeffrey Lurie, his organization does not tolerate shit like that. He runs a
No.
clean organization,
Mm-hmm.
and for him to be associated with them, being on the sideline as part of the radio broadcast, um, you know, I'm curious what they'll do. And if I can just add another thing, I've been looking online and stuff like that. I believe the New York Times, or at least the Athletic, picked up this story, and there's a lot of noise that's happening. It's been on KYW, it's been in Philly Voice. It's kind of exploding, and I think the station is going to have no choice but to do something other than what they've already done. And don't be surprised that if he all of a sudden retires.
Yeah.
Give it like 30 days,
Yeah.
because I think
They're
the
gonna
noise isn't
give
going
him
to go away. The noise isn't going to go away.
they're gonna convince him to make an announcement that he's retiring versus quote unquote embarrassing him and firing him. But honestly, I mean, everything you said is right. And you know what though? Like, I kind of feel like this shouldn't be a shock that he's been caught doing this, because again, '97. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. We already saw people comment about how he treated Kyle Newbeck in the comment section. I've heard from other people, in the groups that I've been a part of, about how poorly he treats people. He might put on a pretty face, a smiley face to the fans when he's in public eye, but behind the scenes, he's a dirtbag. Behind the scenes, he's an asshole. Behind the scenes, he's not a guy you want grooming the future media members that are taking over whatever happens to the media. There is not one positive thing. And I see people saying about the advertising dollars and the brand name of the Eskin name. I don't think it matters. I don't think WIP, the Eagles, the Phillies, anybody loses a penny if Howard Eskin just goes off into the sunset and is never heard from again. I don't.
Here's something to watch, Phil. He was the graduation speaker, Godly Beacom.
Mm-hmm.
If they pull that doctorate, that honorary doctorate, all hell's going to break loose. And you're talking about a educational institution where you have young people that just aren't taking this type of stuff anymore. If they pull that, the station has no choice. I mean, it's just a really, really bad look, and it's brand damaging for Odyssey and WIP. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
But are we surprised? I mean, and look, I think the ESP, Elliott Shore Park situation with Deshaun Jackson, it's different. It's a different thing. He wrote an article. He said some things that were wrong. I don't know if he should be fired, but he should be at least allowed to address it. This is also something they're not going to. I guarantee today on WIP, I won't listen, and I recommend nobody listens. But if you do find yourself listening, I guarantee nobody says anything. And just like every tweet that ESP makes, there's 500 comments of "What about Deshaun Jackson?" underneath it. Every time WIP comments or Eskin, his son Spike Eskin, tweets or says something, people are going to be hounding them for comments. In my mind, when something goes wrong in a business, you address it head on and you deal with it immediately. You don't try to sweep it under the rug. You don't try to hide from it, because those things kind of make it worse, kind of give you a bad, even a worse look, because you're trying to hide the bad things versus, just address it. Just address it. Just get it over with. Clear the air right away. We're working on the thing what happened with Howard. We're working with the Phillies. We'll have an answer for what the situation will be shortly. Just address it so that the story can go away.
I feel bad for the producers and phone screeners at WIP,
gosh, yeah.
because they're going to be inundated with people who are going to talk about that or try to sneak that on. There's going to be a lot of dump buttons being used in the next week or so, because this is a guy that has been in your face for decades, and he's one of those guys, either you love him or you hate him. The guys that hate him and gals that hate him are going to they're going to flood that they're going to make the ability to run that station. They're going to make those people miserable, where you don't have a choice. You're going to have to do something.
Some of these comments about the types of girls that's contributing.
Guys,
you're really warming up to these comments here today.
Spike already did tweet something to distance himself from his dad. I did see that.
Yeah, I did not see that. I don't follow any of the Eskins or anything like that. The accountability, the truth shall set you free. That is right. Guys, you're watching Trend in the AM right here on Edge of Philly Sports. Please, like Duck said a few seconds ago, hit that like button wherever you're watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. The one or two people that watch on Twitch, hit the like, share, subscribe, follow wherever you are watching. I saw somebody ask, when will Mark be back on? Mark, when will you be back on?
If you want me on Friday or Monday, I can come on.
Friday he'll be back, so he's not going anywhere. Guys, we still got a bunch of stuff to talk about here. But real quick, don't forget, if you're looking for a place to hang out this weekend, go to Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park. For 65 plus years, they've been the quintessential Irish American dive bar in Delaware County. Great food, great times, great drinks, great specials. Hell, you might even see a local Philly celebrity walk in from time to time. Go on down, check them out, dolansbar.com, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Find their socials, and just make sure when you go in there, PJ, let them know Edge of Philly, Train the AM sent you. And I keep joking about, make sure you tell them you want to see a Train the AM live at 8 a.m. from Dolan's Bar. Bloody Marys and sports talk. Supposedly, Big Al texted me and said he is trying to work on something like that. So maybe someday we'll have a live morning show from Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park. But make sure you check them out, guys. It's my old stomping grounds of Ridley Park. Again, I'm Phil Stiefel. We got Mark Moschitelli sitting next to me today and on Friday. And tomorrow's going to be a fun show, too. Tomorrow's a special show for me, the 4th of July. We're going to be starting late tomorrow, 9 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock. Give myself a little bit of extra sleep time. But I put an open invite to the entirety of the Edge of Philly sports family. Most cannot come in because they work on the mornings, or can't come on because they work in the mornings. I don't know who's going to show up tomorrow. I have a feeling Mitchie Poo will. But outside of that, I don't know who else is going to show up. So we're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow. Back to the comments, though. Howard wears the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl ring. Yeah. So back to the fun stuff. Any good mob movies about the Jewish mob? Meyer Lansky.
Casino.
Yeah. Casino. Yeah, I guess that would be a Jewish mob movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Robert De Niro's character was Jewish. I don't have the money. I don't have.
I'll let him on for
payday
free.
is Friday, so maybe. I mean, if Phil wants me on Friday, I'll be on Friday.
paint the town green. I do want to talk a little Philadelphia Eagles in a second here. Way to be fair and impartial. Mob mentality. Opinions matter only if you. No, I don't think I'm willing. I'm willing, Maddie, to have a conversation with you, and we've had conversations. But when you're talking about, disrespecting women in public like that, there ain't no second opinions in it. That's not. You probably want Miles Bridges on the Sixers, and you probably want Double Herrera back on the Phillies. There.
Yeah, I
you want to get heated.
Or Trevor Bauer.
Or Trevor Bauer, exactly.
I'm sorry, man. Like there are some things that are non-negotiables, and if I was told a long time ago when I entered the workforce, if you lie, you cheat, you steal, you harass, you're out. You're done with your career.
Done.
And this dude harassed. This dude has a history of doing this shit. And finally, all it takes is one person to speak up. So I would not be surprised if somebody else within the next week or so comes out and says, Eskin harassed me too, and here's what happened.
Yep. It's absolutely.
All it takes is one.
Think about it. So if you guys didn't know, I didn't know about it till last night. Somehow this got swept under the rug well enough. It also happened a long time ago when, the internet wasn't as prevalent and social media wasn't as prevalent in 97 when he was messaging, a chick through AOL, sent her flowers, and then her husband murdered her because of the correspondence with Howard Eskin. And I know Howard Eskin has said that really did mentally affect him. But seriously, this is something that's been going on for 25, 30, 40 years of him using his quote-unquote star power to think he could get away with how he treats people.
I'm going to be real. Talking Philly sports with Matty B is pissing me off. Know both sides. I get it. The dude has a documented history of being a jerk-off.
Yeah.
A documented history. And why don't you go back 20 years about when he made up stories about Allen Iverson and his attorneys paying off witnesses in his trial, and he was suspended for 30 days. He's a fucking creep. Excuse the language.
He did that, but he still holds a grudge against the Sixers because of suspending him 20 years ago.
He's just not a good dude, man. And there's enough out there to say that, to have an educated opinion about him.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to tell you. I'm working on sources that I know that are in the Diamond Club to get that story and find out his demeanor in there. And I guarantee they will tell me that when he comes rolling in, they all roll their eyes, and he probably doesn't tip well either.
I love how you throw in there. He's probably not a good tipper either. I love that aspect of it. Excuse me. I just let's move on from it. We spent too much time on it already. We like to keep things fun and fresh and not that serious. But it's a serious thing, and I think you're right, Mark. Within 30 days, you'll see Howard Eskin pretty much not employed anywhere anymore. Pretty much done completely. I saw somebody say he's equal to John Belaris, and I'm going to ask you, Mark. Did I miss something? I asked it on a show like 2 weeks ago, and I Googled it. I can't find it. I got crushed on Twitter because I shared a screenshot that I didn't know John Belaris followed me, and I shot him a follow back. I had no clue he followed me.
I blocked him, dude. Really?
But somebody told me he's like this scumbag, and I know this thing where he got drugged and raped by Russians. I know he was a terrible meteorologist. Did he do something that got him canceled, and I shouldn't be bragging that he follows me?
This dude, Matty B, the moral majority, everyone. Listen, dude, being Eskin's camp, I'd rather be on the side of the right. When I say right, like being good people, high caliber, high character people, than scumbags. If you want to associate yourself with scumbags, go ahead and do that. Glass houses go with you. Dude, get this fucking guy off your stream, man. Like, I don't know who this dude is, but I don't have time for him. I didn't waste a day off to deal with people that that want to support people that are scumbags because of there's two sides, or let's hear him out. I think enough has been said about him and what he's about that chances are what has happened has happened.
You
And I don't
can't
know.
convince you can't. K1's right here. You can't come on a stream and accuse a guy of being a bad tipper. You better call David Archeri if you're going to do that. Okay. K1's always there to bring the mood back to a comedy section there. No, Blair's is just a douche. Yeah, he
No,
probably is.
Polaris got kicked out of a bar for being a racist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think of the name of the bar,
Yeah,
and it just took a lot of traction in Twitter. You know, Tilted Killed had good sandwiches. Was it the one in Sicklerville, or was it the one in over in King of Prussia?
So King of Prussia. So I'm like, I know I've heard this name before, and I couldn't remember where I've heard of this place before from.
Yeah.
Howard better relocate and take a one-way trip with you. Yeah, that's right. He should take a trip with Matty B to Brazil. Maybe they won't
B
come
has
back.
Matty, why don't you spill the beans? So tell me what the full story is.
Yeah, tell the full
tell
story.
Me what
then.
the
If
full
you've
story
got
is.
sources, tell me the full story.
Tell me the story.
No, he doesn't want you
no,
off.
I
the
don't
stream,
want Duck
Doug.
off. Doug,
No.
you stay on it. Matty B.
It's Matty B's. Guys, he doesn't know Matty B. Matty B is in the comments every day, almost every day. Whatever we talk about, he'll find a way to disagree. You know what you should do, Mark? You know what you should do? Matty B actually does host a show here on Edge of Philly, just so you know.
Oh, he does? And I'm
I think it's on Monday nights. There's 7-day-a-week program, guys, so make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. You don't want to miss it. 25 to 35
I'm
shows
available
every
week.
week.
On your show.
Yeah, Matty B, Mark will come on your show on a Monday night, or at the very least, Mark, you better go in his comment section of his next show next week on Monday and just tear into him, just so you know.
Tell him to give me a follow on the Twitter, and I'll be glad to follow him back, and I'll check out his show.
Yeah, I don't even know if he is on Twitter, but yeah, maybe. I'll link the two of you up. The Tilted Kilt King. Yeah, absolutely. Real quick. We got about 20 minutes left. I want to get off this. I want to move off from this because I brought something up late yesterday in the show. I put it out on Twitter about the Eagles, and I feel like people are either A, misunderstanding my opinion, or B, just totally way off base with this Eagles theory of mine, Mark. And I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Sorry, he was defending. Yeah. And it's I'm going to start a thing where every couple days I bring up a new thing of what are you more concerned about going into this next season for the Eagles? And nobody is concerned one bit with Cam Jurgens taking over for a surefire first ballot Hall of Fame, one of the greatest centers of all time. And everybody is super concerned about Tyler Steen filling in at right guard. And I put it out there that I think I am more concerned about Cam Jurgens filling in for Jason Kelce than I am Tyler Steen filling in for Cam Jurgens. And right now, I got this poll out. It's right now 65-35. More people are concerned about right guard than center. And everyone tells me that Cam Jurgens has been handpicked and groomed, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot harder to fill in at center on an offensive line where you are required to do so much, of the blocking call-out assignments, organize that line, be one with Jalen Hurts, than it is to just step into the right guard position. And while Cam Jurgens is a really good player, I think we're glossing over what could be the biggest issue on the offensive line.
You're out of your mind.
No, I'm not.
Two words. Jeff Stoutland. As long as Jeff is in charge of that offensive line, I don't have a worry. And to your point, what you just said, Cam has been groomed to take over the center position. Is it going to be a drop-off from Jason Kelce? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's going to go from a Hall of Fame level player to an above average / all-pro Pro Bowl player is what you're going to get. Cam is going to have a really good season. I really believe that. And I think Tyler Steen is going to be adequate at the guard position. They're probably going to run the ball more because Barkley's there, and it's a little bit easier to run block than it is to pass block. And plus, you got Hurts runs as well. So I don't. I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned about anything on the offensive line. If you were telling me that all these guys are injured and they don't know if they're going to be able to give you a full season, then I'd understand. But as long as Jeff Stoutland has control of that offensive line, I have no worries. It's the minute
And
where he decides to retire, I'm going to get really nervous.
I get the Jeff Stoutland part of it, but the drop off from Kelce to Steen is dramatic. The drop off from Jurgens, or the drop off from Kelce to Jurgens is one thing. The drop off from Jurgens to Steen isn't as big. Steen was drafted to be the replacement of Jurgens at right guard, so it's a similar path that Jurgens has took. Jurgens has played well at right guard, but he had two Hall of Famers on each side of him, in Lane Johnson and Jason Kelce. I think people, and I'm not trying to say I think Cam Jurgens isn't going to be a good center. I just think expecting him to do even 80% of what Jason Kelce did week one of this season with a new offensive coordinator, with a completely new offense, is asking a massive amount of him. Tyler Steen, he's been a guard. You're just slotting him into what he has been always in his life. And he played pretty well in his brief moments last year. I'm not trying to say that Jurgens is not going to be good. I think people are missing the fact that there is potential for a huge drop-off there.
I think if you're going to see a drop-off, it's going to be in the locker room. I think, does Cam have control of that offensive line as a leader? I doubt it. I think it's probably Lane Johnson's offensive line now. Is he respected in the locker room? I don't know. I guess.
This what Mista says here, calling out the offensive line protection schemes. I mean, he's smart. He could do it. But Kelce, like the offensive line, when he would call things out, they respect it and they knew what he was doing. Hurts trusted Kelce to make those calls. There is going to be a bigger speed bump with Jurgens than there is Steen at the start of this season.
I think there's like so many other things that you should be concerned about with this team.
There is. There's 3 weeks till there's 3 weeks till camp starts, and I'll have a new one for Friday to discuss. But right now, the first one I thought of was Jurgens and Steen.
Hey, thank you for bringing it up. I think it's a nothing burger. I think there's more concern with the defense, with the linebackers, with the new coordinators. I do think there's concerns there. Your head coach. I think that's where your focus should be. The players on the field. I think we have a pretty damn good roster.
I do. I think we're rightfully so Super Bowl contenders. I put out a tweet yesterday or 2 days ago. If you can't pick the Chiefs, give me 4 or 5, I forget what I said, teams that are most likely to win the Super Bowl. And the Eagles are surefire one of those 5 teams. No doubt about it. But like Fred says here, Kelce even overrid Hurts at times, on play calling and audibles and stuff like that. Cam Jurgens ain't doing that.
But you also want Hurts to be more of a leader, more of a vocal leader, more out there. That this might be his opportunity to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Hurts can do it. Hurts still had problems even with Kelce doing the work. Yeah, and sure, we're going to see about Jalen Hurts. We will. Look, I don't think it's the number one issue. It's not the number one concern. And somebody said, where was it? I saw Steen will need mentoring outside of Stoutland U. Yes, absolutely. And here's another problem. Jurgens needed mentoring to play left guard or right guard, but he had Kelce and Lane Johnson on each side mentoring him. Steen now has to be mentored by Cam Jurgens. There's a difference there. I think it goes back more to the theory that I think the loss of Jason Kelce is so much bigger than people realize.
Listen, it is a big loss, but now Cam is going to go to Tyler and say, listen, I was in this role, last year, and this is what Kelce did for me, and I'm going to do this for you. This is what Lane is going to do for you. It's you pay it forward is essentially, he was the student. Now he's going to be a teacher. All the while, learning this new role as well. So I don't have a problem with the offensive line. I don't have a problem how it's currently structured. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be rather effective all season. I think you're going to have a really good year running the ball. I think you're going to have a good balance on the offense of side. Kellen Moore is a decent offensive coordinator. I don't know much about how decent it was last year. I think it was terrible last year. So I think you're going to see a lot of cohesiveness and a lot of streamlining of these plays that it looks like they know what they're doing on the field. You just got to give them time. You got to give them the camp. You got to give them the preseason. And I think once they get out to Brazil, I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah. I think, I thought of this and I haven't put it on Twitter yet. It's something we're going to talk about. And, I got Chris Franklin coming up in about a week and a half on this show. We'll ask him as well about this. We saw a different approach to the OTAs with a mandatory camp and all. Do you expect Nick Sirianni to change anything about his training camp philosophies? I'm not expecting Vic Fangio wants two-a-days. I'm not asking for that. But do you think he's going to change his way of organizing training camp practices? How many times he does 7-on-7s or 11-on-11s, mix in an extra pad at practice? Do you think that he's already said he wants to focus on details and he wants to change things up to show how serious they have to be? Do you expect changes to training camp this offseason?
I mean, you just answered your question. It
Yeah.
sounds to me like they're probably going to have to, because you have new coordinators, and honestly, let's be real. Nick is on the hot seat. I'm sure he doesn't want to lose his job, so I don't think he's going to change things dramatically. But I do think he's going to change things that essentially fit the needs of his coordinators. Like if their coordinators say, "Hey, man, we need to be in pads today," then they're going to be in pads. Or if we don't need to be in pads, then we're not going to be. I think he's going to defer to his coordinators. And listen, this thing about, well, what does he really do here? Your best leaders out there delegate and then follow up. Is Nick a delegator and follow and putting the right people in the right roles and hiring the right people? I think Nick had some help with getting these coordinators in here, but I think they're the right people. And as long as he lets them do their job and do it effectively upon the vision that they all have, I think you'll be fine. So if that means
we got
changing,
first-hand account. Struggled at the beginning of the season with a new, inexperienced center. That's all I'm trying to get at with the Cam Jurgens thing. And then Barbara said this.
But he's not inexperienced. He played center in college
A few years ago, but I'm just saying, new with this team, with the preseason and training camp, they only have one joint practice lined up. Like last couple of years, they've had two joint practices, and that's where the starters have gotten most of their reps. Maybe we see Hurts and the starting offense play a couple series in the 3 preseason games. I mean, it's risky, obviously, Barbara, but maybe we see that as a way that Nick Sirianni switches things up to change the tone a little bit.
The starters aren't playing in the preseason. That
Okay.
is an old and antiquated way of doing things. You're not going to see them in any preseason games.
Is there a slight worriment of what happened in December last year? You know what, Joe? Let's save this for Friday when Mark's back on the show. Let's save this for Friday because we got 5 minutes of the show left, and I want to have a little fun with the last 5 minutes here. So let's save this comment for Friday. Okay, and what did I write down at the very beginning of the show in my notebook? And I circled it. It was one of the first things said, and it was Nova sucks. So I want to close the show for 5 minutes, and everybody in the comments, and there's a lot of people watching, let's all let Mark Moschatelli know how much we are over Villanova basketball, how much Nova basketball is dead to us, how much Villanova ain't even a Philadelphia school. They're not part of the Big Five. Drexel's more part of the Big Five than Villanova. Let's end this 5 minutes telling Mark how much he's not even a Philly fan anymore because he refuses to denounce his fandom to Villanova basketball.
I am an alumni of the school, Phil. I am an alumni. I shot baskets with Kerry Kittles. Like I love the school. I love the education it gave me. I love the basketball team. 3 national championships. One of the greatest college coaches of all time in Jay Wright. hell of a great follow. Such a nice guy. If you're into college and pro basketball, give Alan Ray a follow on Twitter. He again, another Villanova guy. He's fantastic. If you love, they're not a fraud. They're not a mainline fraud. It's just I am not a Knicks fan, but I got to be real. It was really hard for me to not like root them on once they.
Do
Once they
you
beat the
understand why
Sixers.
we got mad though? The way the Villanova social media team handled that Sixers Knicks series, because
What would
realistically,
you like them to
everything
do?
you said is right, but it's
They're
the way they
recruiting
handled
for
that
the school.
series. What?
What are they supposed to do? They're
Wait
recruiting
till the
for the
series
school.
is over. You don't. While
I
you're
disagree, man.
technically
I
not a
disagree.
Philadelphia school, but you're considered a Philadelphia school. Yes, your alumni are playing in the playoffs, but they're playing against a Philadelphia team that you're always linked with. You share the arena sometimes with the Sixers. Okay, don't tweet out hype for the New York Knicks, whether they're your alumni or not, in games during that crucial, critical play. You wait till the series is over, or you wait till the next round. You don't do it mid-game when they're smoking your hometown team. That's just what you don't do. And that is realistically why we all hate Villanova now.
I think they did the city all right, they're not Jesuits. That the Jesuits are St. Joe's, I believe, and we are Augustinians. But thanks for pointing that out.
Okay. I'm a Devon Prep
they did
kid.
the city.
I went to a purist school, so
they K1 is just out of control.
K1 is the greatest. When you rile K1 up, he can really put some comments.
So Villanova did the city a favor by highlighting that these guys in this school were in the Sixers' backyard for I don't know, all in for all these guys, probably like 6 or 8 years. And all they had to show for it is a broken down Kyle Lowry. Like you could have had any one of these players on your team at any time, and for whatever the reason, they never elected to do that. And the one guy they did, they traded him for Zaire Smith. So just like the Sixers. Not to turn this into a Sixers conversation, but they really failed the city having these players. And I would say that if this was LaSalle or Temple or St. Joe's or any of those other, you have a college in your backyard.
Stop ignoring Drexel in the Big Five, okay?
Drexel beat Villanova in the Big Five Classic.
You said you played hoops with Curry Kittles?
From that.
You said you played hoops with Curry Kittles, right?
We just shot a couple baskets.
Right. So we're gonna have a little 2-on-2 basketball. I played basketball with Drexel alumni Malik Rose before, so it's gonna be me and Malik Rose versus you and Curry Kittles. I kind of take our side. I think we got this.
Yeah, I think Curry Kittles' knees are shot, and I can't get up and down the court like I used to.
Neither can I. Malik Rose dunked on me so many times, like it wasn't even funny. I think some of these comments are interesting, but yes, I hate Penn State too, because Penn State is not a Philadelphia squad. They're 4.5 hours away. Why do we care about Penn State?
You want to talk about Kool-Aid drinkers? Talk to those alumni.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a Penn State guy at all. What else we got?
Barb, you're right. Jalen Brunson is a hell of a player. I actually root for Jalen Brunson. I think he's a good player, but I just can't root for the Knicks. But during that series, the way their social media team handled it, it's just ridiculous. Augustinians are the top. That's right, Kalon. Spot on for that one.
Jalen, let me just add, Jalen Brunson got his undergrad degree in a little over 3 years and had a 4.0, I think. True student athlete. That's why he left early.
Okay. Who are the Sixers trading? That is the rumor was before.
Draft picks.
Yeah, it's going to be draft picks most likely. There's a rumor actually that I saw, and I forget who put it out there, that it could be actually worked into. What's that?
Trade for Steph Curry?
No, there's a rumor going around
that part of that,
the Klay Thompson deal that turned into a 2 or 3 team deal that they're working on. It hasn't been officially announced by the league, so they're trying to turn that into a 5-team deal where we actually get a second round pick and maybe a project player in the deal to make it work financially. So there is the Buddy Hield looks like he is going to go to Golden State, but it's going to be a little while till all the details of this deal are hashed out. We're not getting much, but we are getting something for him, which is fine. Whatever we get for Buddy Hield is something that we can then use and package with Paul Reed so that we could bring more salary back. So it's this very complicated thing.
Buddy Hield, they had their eyes on for a bit, and again, they get the player too late, and he was absolutely nothing.
Agreed. Absolutely. To Warriors, I heard. Yep, it's going to happen. It looks like it's just going to be a little bit of time. Maybe we'll be talking about that tomorrow on the 4th of July show. Can't take a player back, or are we hard capped? You can take a player back. I just don't. The NBA salary cap is so complicated.
Just get the draft picks that you lost when you traded for Buddy.
Someone I respect, I forget which one I read. I read the article on it this morning before the show. I just forget who I read it on. Dorian, or Down South College is king. If you mention Temple, they won't take you seriously, but you respect Penn State a little bit. Nope. I don't mention anyone. That's why I don't care about college football. Guys, we got to wrap it up. We're at the 90-minute mark. We got to close it up for the day here. Close up shop. Guys, make sure you hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Make sure you're here tomorrow. Who the hell knows who's going to be on the show with me tomorrow? I've opened it up to all of VOP. None of them might come on. All of them might come on. I have a feeling Mitchie Poo will come on because I've lifted his ban. I doubt Matty B will come on because we're actually going to be having fun and not depressing. So that's doubtful right there. But we're going to have fun. Tomorrow's start time will be 9 a.m., not 8 a.m. It's a day off for me, but I will come back. I just want to sleep past 6:30 tomorrow morning. So we will start at 9. We'll have fun tomorrow. We'll goof around. We'll talk Nathan's Hot Dogs. We'll talk Phillies. We'll talk whatever everybody wants tomorrow. But make sure you guys shoot my man Mark Moscatelli a follow.
Yes, shoot me a follow.
Mark with a C _wit_AC. It's right there on the screen. Give him a follow. Or any of his 800 burner accounts. Follow them as well.
You're terrible.
Mark, I'm so glad you texted me yesterday. So glad.
I think we had a good show today. Thank you for having me. I think we had
a lot of fun today. And it looks like Mark will be back on Friday. So fantastic. Stop, Quinyon. Are we really going to end this show like that? We can talk about that tomorrow because I think what she's doing is fantastic. One stupid thing, and she is making a boatload of money. Capitalize on your 15 minutes of fame, chick. Do it. Anyway, with that being said, we're going to wrap it up. As we end every show, it's very simple. Like, subscribe, follow. It's Go Birds. It's Ring That Bell. And it's Bubbles Up, guys.